The principal way in which the Kingdom of Germany raises income is by selling essential services to the people. So, health insurance, for example, is a national monopoly, it's a state monopoly. It is about 20% cheaper than you would pay within the Federal Republic of Germany, because its objective is completely different. The objective of health insurance in most parts of the world at the moment is to funnel as much money as possible into the pockets of the pharmaceutical cartel. You create a health insurance system which is based upon the purpose of creating a chronically healthy people. Your costs go meow. So the present health insurance costs in the kingdom are around 20% less, but they will fall. And that what remains after costs have been covered goes into the coffers of the kingdom. The state bank, and there is only one bank in the kingdom, doesn't charge interest, of course, doesn't charge you any fees, because it belongs to the people, belongs to you, to me. Where it earns its money is by financing new businesses, for example. But not in the way the present banking cartel does it. Not in the way of, well, we'll create a phantom debt for you. And the way the law is in the old system is, even if you go bankrupt, the bank gets their money. Now, in the kingdom, the bank is a partner in your business. It's in their interest to make sure that your business grows and survives. And if you go bust, the bank is a partner, they've lost their investment. Very, very different ball game. But helping businesses start up, being active partners in creating and growing business, is the way in which the bank creates a revenue for itself. Not from charging interest, but from their share in the profits of the business. Belong to the people, belong to the state bank, belong to the people, belong to you and me. That's another way of doing it. There are a number of other, perhaps less important ways, perhaps worth mentioning. It doesn't exist at the moment. These other two do exist. But at some point there will be, in the Kingdom of Germany, will have its own telecommunication system. But it will be a national system. And the profits belong to the people. It may be that in that way there will be allowed private ownership of parts of the communication system. But because it's competition creates efficiency. But it's highly likely that the state bank will be an active partner in these businesses. So again, you have a share in the profits. And this is how the government, this is how the state apparatus, necessary state apparatus will be, is financed at the moment already. Not will be.
The only thing I'm not sure about is whether competition creates efficiency, because we've currently got supposed competition, and we're certainly not getting efficiency from the energy or the telecommunications companies in the current system.
Energy, no, because they operate as a cartel. Telecommunications, well, I remember when the General Post Office was denationalised, and I remember exactly the same thing happened in Germany a few years later. Telecommunication costs went boom, and they've only gone up about that much since then. I don't know whether you remember that.
I do.
Yeah, but it's exactly the same thing happened in Germany. I remember back in the the end of the 80s, using a landline to call from Dortmund to Germany, to Cologne, which is 92 kilometers, cost, if I remember correctly, something like 5 Deutschmarks per minute, which with inflation equates to, and converting it into sterling, equates to about £3.70 a minute for a 60-mile telephone conversation. That's the sort of cost that we're going in. I now pay a flat rate of 29 euros a month and can call throughout the whole of Germany without any extra costs at all. So that's the way in which costs have gone down considerably. On the other hand, one sees a growing movement towards almost a monopoly site structure, which could end up being a cartel. So 10 years ago, there were, I think, 37 telecommunications companies in Germany. There are now 5, and 2 of those are in the process of being bought up by one of the 2 big ones. So it looks as though we're going to end up with Vodafone and O2 in Germany, with Telecom playing an umpire role almost. So we'll have 3, but how that's going to work out, I don't know. But the point is, if you're running a state-owned enterprise, the people running that enterprise are citizens. That is, they are responsible to you. Not to the government, but to you personally, for the way in which that company is run. And if you don't like the way it comes, you can move to deselect them and change the policy, company policy. It's part of the intrinsic structure of the kingdom. When you read the Constitution, you will see this, that part of the intrinsic structure is there is no superior authority above you and me. We are the state. We are those who decide, and no one else. There is no one above you, no one at all. Yeah. Well, it's a case of what do you need? At the moment, the kingdom buys oil on the open market because the kingdom needs oil.
Like it just makes money in its own revenue, and then just makes. Is it trade? Is it?
No. No. Again, once you eliminate the concept of interest, then that sort of trading becomes completely uninteresting. You can't make a profit at it, so it just ceases of its own accord. The whole of that system is based upon creating phantom debt and then paying interest on the phantom debt and interest upon the interest. And if you make that impossible, then that sort of thing disappears. This expression, money makes money, doesn't in the kingdom. Because there is no phantom money. There is only real money. So what's next on here is... What? I saw you'd done that, yeah. Yeah, so how exactly can you, here and now, create for yourself a completely legal, tax-free business? You don't have to become, you don't have to get your parish to become part of the kingdom before you can do that. You can do it right now. One prerequisite, and that is to become a participant in the kingdom. That's it. It doesn't cost you anything, doesn't affect your present nationality, but you have to become a participant. The reason for this is that the most stable laws which exist on the planet, and they exist in every country on the planet, are the special laws created to protect the interests of the super rich. This is primarily the trust laws, which some people here know about in great detail. And because they're created to serve the super rich, those who pull the strings that make our politicians dance, those laws are not going to be changed. They're not going to be challenged. They're the most stable laws in existence. Making use of those laws, if they're on the statute books, they're available to everyone, to create an environment in which business takes place in a tax enclave or a legal enclave which is outside the national law, is what we've done. And it works. You see, if within a trust members exchange goods or services, even if they use a symbolic representation of worth to do so, such as money, as long as that money is not the national currency of the country in which they're presently standing, then that transaction has taken place outside of the economy of that country. So it is not taxable. It doesn't exist at law as a taxable transaction. So the income is not taxable. The thing is, you can't use, if you're in the UK, you cannot use sterling to do it. If you're in Germany or anywhere else in Europe, you can't use euros to do it. If you're in America, you can't use dollars to do it. What you can use is Neue Deutsche Mark. And the way you do it, you open an account at the state bank, the Königliche Reichsbank. You use your pounds or euros or dollars to purchase Neue Deutsche Mark. With your Neue Deutsche Mark, you then go onto something called the Kadari-Markt. Now, at the moment, very little of that is translated into English. It's my next big project. But everybody knows eBay. It looks very much like eBay, but without the fees. And it works very much like eBay without the fees. Anything that you want to buy or sell to any other member, any other participant, or even any citizen of the kingdom, you can buy and sell on the Kadari-Markt for Neue Deutsche Mark. So what you sell, you get Neue Deutsche Mark, and then you look for what you want to buy on the Kadari-Markt, and you pay for it with Neue Deutsche Mark. It's an economy within itself. And as that grows, and I'll tell you how much it's growing, in July, we had a conference in the kingdom, and there were then 6,800 products being offered on the Kadari-Markt. It's now 13,800. Sorry? Kadari. There will be a link on the info page, www.hecr.com/GG14. It's not yet online, so don't look for it tonight. Okay, there are a few other things that we want to go into before we go and see. Tax-free business. There's a handbook which you can download that goes into detail of establishing a tax-free business, and that'll be on this special web page when it's online. Now, one thing that's going on at the moment, there's a concerted campaign throughout most of the world to destroy the profession of midwife. This is primarily because the pharmaceutical cartel wants to have everything which is in any way connected with health in their hands. The banking cartel wants to inject everyone with an RFID chip. And the only way, or the easiest way for them to do that, is to force all births into hospitals so that as part of normal procedure, they can be injected with an RFID chip. We're going to see the ins and outs of that. There's a handbook that you can download. And the way in which they're doing it is they've created this fantasy of the necessity for an enormous amount of indemnity insurance, not because of something that the midwives have done, but because of something which doctors of medicine have done in hospitals. They create a lot of problems which have proved very expensive, but the midwives should pay for it. So they're now facing indemnity insurance premiums of up to £6,000 a year, and at the same time they're having their income squeezed by reducing the fees which they're allowed to charge on medical insurance. The effect being to force all births into hospitals and to destroy the profession of midwife. Now, the way in which the kingdom can resolve this problem everywhere on the planet, there are two ways. One is the kingdom can offer that indemnity insurance at a reasonable price. It's not the optimal way of doing it, though. It's not the way we prefer to do it. The other way is for midwife and mother-to-be to become participants in the Kingdom of Germany. And then the birth takes place within the jurisdiction of the Constitution of the Kingdom of Germany, not within the jurisdiction of the country in which you happen to be lying or sitting or squatting. And that removes any requirement at all for this indemnity insurance. There's also a handbook on that which you can download from this website when it's online. But this is one of the ways in which the kingdom can help solve problems internationally, even now. So, what's that say? Oh yes, last point on my list, and now I know why the list didn't get any longer, is a book I wrote back in 2009, which has been doing a like fantastic in Germany ever since. And in March I finally completed the English translation. At this very minute it is called in English The Anatomy of Luck, but as with the next print run, which should happen within the next 2 weeks, it will be called The Key to Luck. The Anatomy of Luck is just a direct translation of the German name. And what it's actually about is a step-by-step manual showing you how to access and focus your God power, your goddess power, to create, to manifest anything and everything that you want. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to pay for it. You only have to know how to manifest it. You don't have to pay someone else to have what you want. Why should you pay someone else for it? Why should you pay someone else instead of using your own natural power to manifest yourself exactly what you want? And it works for everything. Let me give you a nice example. 4 years ago, yeah. I was driving a 12-year-old Renault Espace, which then got scrapped. So I bought a Jaguar for cash. A second-hand one, but not very old, which I then drove for nearly 2 years. And then I bought a brand new Jaguar for cash. And that's sitting in the car park downstairs at the moment. what did I do? I just manifested it. I just gave a stipulation using the techniques in the book to manifest that car, the car that I wanted. Now, interesting things happened on the way though. And when you start doing this, incredibly interesting things start happening. The first Jaguar that I manifested, I started doing the manifestation and money started accumulating on my account, my bank account. You know, it just sort of happened. You know, I wasn't doing anything extra to create it, it's just doing it. And then my goddaughter discovered that her car wasn't even scrap. It was, the MOT ran out a year ago, and there's no way was that going to get a new MOT. So I bought her a new car. With the result that money started landing on my account even faster. And then a friend of ours who has a disabled daughter, she'd been living for years buying one cheap junk car and then spending a fortune on constant repairs until it was no longer drivable, and then buying another cheap junk car. No, you're going to have a good car. So I bought her a good used car. Gave it to her. With the result that money started landing on my account even faster. And this is euros. Now, I want to buy a car in England, need pounds. Get a phone call from a friend. I have a friend who sells German beer in England. And he's just arrived here, and he had to leave England on a Sunday instead of a Monday, which means he couldn't go to the bank to change his pounds for euros. Do you have any need for some pounds? So of course we did a deal. I gave him euros for his pounds, which means I then saved £745 on bank charges. And then I drove to England and bought a Jaguar. Once you start doing it, you will find the most amazing things happen to help you get where you want to be. Because you're actually using the way in which the universe is structured. It is there to show you your ability to command. That's all it's there for. It mirrors your perception of yourself, your self-worth, your abilities, your powers. And if you start using the power of the universe, which is within you, to manifest what you want, it will say, okay, here it is. Literally like that. You don't have to do anything else. In fact, the worst thing you can do is to start trying to plan out how it's going to happen. Just let it be. And a stipulation takes a maximum of 3 minutes per day. That's the maximum time you spend on manifesting, 3 minutes a day. It could be under 1 minute. And that's all of you that you invest in doing it. Using the techniques of manifestation, I finally found a woman who thinks, lives and breathes the way I do. A partner instead of a passenger. There's no limit to what you can do because you are the manifestation of the God-Goddess power. That's all yours. Use it. Forget about being a victim. That period of humanity's history is over. Create. Be who you are. And there's also a link to getting the book on the info page. I've actually got the last 5 printed copies in my car. So if anybody wants them with a signature, just speak to me and I will bring them up tomorrow. Any more questions right now? before we all go for a cup of tea.
Thank
So-
you very much. Lovely.
Thank you.
Very interesting.